Guys, let's welcome Rodrigo to our video conference today. And if I can take about a couple of seconds to introduce you to the team, should that be okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, guys, Rodrigo he grew up in Brazil and moved to the US for his high school. Got a bachelor's in management from the Missouri State University, and then he is an alum of McCombs. So he used his MBA experience at McCombs to transition from an internal audit career in the telecom industry to a marketing role in the technology industry as well. He was a student ambassador even during his time as an MBA student, and this passion eventually brought him back to McCombs, and he's currently the big man. He's the director of admissions. So he's the person who you should direct all your questions to. Rodrigo, I'll leave it up to you to take up your presentation. It's really nice to see you again.
Cool. Good to see you too. Thanks for the opportunity. So excited to chat this morning or this tonight for all of you guys. So thanks for hanging out and being available to meet at a time that's convenient over here in the US. I know that it's late for you all in India. So, I didn't have a set agenda, Karthik, for the time that we have together. I think I'm more interested to hear what questions are top of mind for kind of everybody that's on the call, and we can really spend the time doing Q&A. But before I got started, just to set the stage. I'm primarily going to be sharing information with you all about our full-time MBA program. So that full-time MBA program at the University of Texas at Austin is a 2-year program. We have applications deadline, as you're probably aware, in October, January, and April. Our start is actually in early August. So when you're looking at top 20 MBA program, we start pretty early. And the program, as I mentioned, is 2 years with an internship in the middle. At a very high level, we bring in people from a variety of backgrounds. So a third of our incoming class are engineers or folks from a technical background, a third business background, and a third kind of everything else. And we do that in a comfort, bringing in people from different backgrounds because everybody goes through the core classes together. One of the key highlights of our program is the program flexibility. So you take those core classes together during that first semester, but you already start to customize your MBA program experience during the second half of that first semester. With your second semester, so that spring semester being mostly electives, and the second years being all electives. We have over 20 concentrations you can select from. So there's a wide variety of courses that you can take. But for us, what we're interested in is for you to chart your own path. So you work really closely with an academic advisor and a career advisor while here to really design the program that's right for you. And that may mean following a concentration roadmap pretty strictly. For example, if you're interested in investment banking, because those are the courses that are prescribed for someone that's looking for something like that. But for example, if you're interested in strategy consulting, you're probably going to be taking classes across a lot of different concentrations and really figuring out the way where you can kind of augment the skill set that you have and what you're going to build on. So depending on your background, the program that you experience might be very different from one of your classmates. So with that being said, the last thing that I'll share, the majority of our placement at McCombs is in technology and consulting. So those two industries take close to, if not more than 50% of our graduating class. And that should be music to your ears because both technology and consulting tend to be industries that are more welcoming of international students. So, and our Indian students tend to do really well in placing in those two industries. So I'll leave you with that high level information, and I'm more than happy to answer questions you all have about the MBA program itself or the application process that we have.
So let's see. I think we had a couple of people with questions on the application itself, and then there were a few questions from people about the job opportunities, the fact that a lot of the placements are happening in Texas, something to do with how you view the energy industry. So there's a whole variety of questions here. So I'm just going to leave it to the students. If anybody wants to start.
I think it might be also easier so we're not talking over each other. Maybe, I don't know if everybody has access to the Zoom group chat function. So I don't know if you want to, for the folks that are on the call, to maybe type up your questions and then I can go through them in order. So it's a little bit more organized and people are not talking over each other. I don't know, Karthik, if you have another suggestion.
We have chat. Yeah, that should be perfectly fine. But while everyone's typing up their question, Rahul, do you want to just go with yours so that we are occupied and we have something to listen to while the other people are writing down?
Right. Hi. Good morning and good evening to all of you. So I had this one question. I am from the energy background, and you would be having a lot of applicants from the oil and gas industry. And I just wanted to get some insights on, suppose people do work in similar kind of operational roles, and they may be having similar kind of stats, be it in terms of academics or WorkX or other parameters. So in those kind of scenarios, how do you evaluate people?
So just make sure I understand the question. So how do we evaluate folks that come from an energy background? Is that the question?
Or having similar kind of work profiles.
So for us, we're lucky to have a pretty diverse applicant pool. And even though we are in Texas, only about 5 to 7% of the incoming class has an energy background. So we're used to seeing folks with energy backgrounds, but I feel like as you build your resume and you build your story, if you really focus on the accomplishments that you have and the impact that you've had in the workplace, that's going to automatically differentiate you from other applicants. So probably one of the most popular industries coming into the MBA program is probably consulting. And at the surface, a consultant job may be very similar, but whenever you start to dig down on people's experiences, impacts that they have, those consulting experiences tend to be quite different. So for you specifically, I'll focus on that, the impact that you've had, the projects that you've been working on, and just me from India and having that international experience, I think automatically differentiates you from the applicants in the US, for example. So I wouldn't be as worried about if you have an energy background. We're used to seeing energy. We like energy kind of students that have that energy background. The one thing that I'll say for international students, so some of the big energy companies like ExxonMobil or Chevron, for example, do not sponsor international students, and that's the case for kind of all US schools. Yeah. But international students that are interested in the energy industry tend to find a path in consulting or the kind of oil services companies. So an example would be a Schlumberger. So there's a path for international students in the energy industry. It just may be kind of sideways, not directly with a big oil and gas firm, the ones that you're used to seeing. So it's important for you all to have plan A and plan B whenever you come across. So
yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
No worries. So we have a question regarding scholarships. Is there a separate essays or process to apply for a scholarship, or is it merit-based as automatically considered when it applies to the program? So the answer to that question is that there is no, sorry, let's close my email. It's making a little noise. So there is no additional application process to be considered for scholarships. When you submit your application for admission to McCombs, we evaluate both the application for admission for scholarships. So at the end, whenever we release decisions, you're going to receive a letter from us, if admitted, that says you're admitted, and then let you know if you're receiving a scholarship award or not. All of the scholarships are merit-based. So it's important to have a strong application package altogether. The GMAT is not the end all be all. The interview piece is probably the most important piece of the application, because I may have somebody that on paper looks very strong, and if the interview is weak, they may not get in, and they're not going to get a scholarship. So in the same token, we have folks that have below 700 GMAT that get scholarships as well. And about 45% of our students in the incoming class receive a scholarship. That's a similar rate to international students. And the scholarships range from $5,000 all the way to full tuition. So there's the next question about how can I highlight leadership experience at work? Does it have to be in terms of promotions or number of people reporting to me, or in terms of project assignments I've initiated? So I think going back to the impact, for us, it's less important to see titles and to a lesser extent, people that are reporting to you. But I think for us, it's important to see how you have influenced project outcomes, even when you don't have the authority to lead a team. So I think capturing stories where you're an individual contributor, as well as if you have that leadership experience where you're managing a team, how you have developed other people, are probably some of the more interesting stories that we have seen. So for us, it's important to see how you influence people, how have you had an impact. So the next question with respect to essay question of Know You Better, what is the admissions team looking for? So is that the first essay question or the second? The first, I feel like that's the first.
That's the first essay question, actually.
So the first essay question we've had that essay questions for a little while. And the mistake that people tend to make is to just regurgitate their resume to us, which we can see in another piece of the application. So we added a little piece about you telling us a little bit about your personal story and what you're passionate about. So we're going to be looking for you to really introduce yourself like you to your classmates, and we don't feel like you just introduce yourself to your classmates by talking about your professional accomplishments. So for us, it's important to hear kind of who you are, what are you passionate about, and then you can bring a little bit of the word context in there, but just don't repeat the same things that are on your resume. So any insights on the overall drop in number of applicants in the current climate? Was it completely driven by international applicants? So there are three main factors that we had, well, actually four. So last year we had the highest number of applications to McCombs that we had in 10 years. So we're coming off a big high. The international applicant drop was the biggest pool that dropped for us, and that is a significant portion of our application pool. The other piece is the fact that when there is a strong domestic economy, domestic students don't tend to apply for full-time MBA. So we've seen an increase in our professional executive MBA, and our applications for the full-time MBA domestic applications suffered a little bit. The other one was Houston is probably our biggest market in Texas, and they suffered a catastrophic hurricane last year. Which also people delayed plans for applying to. So we got hit with those kind of three factors that hurt our application pool last year. So far this year, our application starts, so people starting applications are up 30%, and our events have been very well attended. So we feel like hopefully we're gonna kind of get back to maybe a little bit of growth, if not maintaining the number of applications. So how does someone in the admission committee look at someone with a prior MBA or equivalent degree? So for us, it's important to know why do you want another MBA, right? And it has to be beyond just getting a job in the US. So kind of what is your story? We know that in some foreign countries, including India, a lot of students do a +1 or a +2 right out of undergrad. So maybe that's a situation in this particular case, but for us, it's important to know why do you need a second MBA and why now? And you need to tell us a story that goes beyond, because I want to get a job in technology in the US. So the next one, Maria, I have 10 years work experience, currently working as a product management startup. I'd like to pursue a career in tech. This, as I'm already into product management. No, so we see folks that have a tech background and want to kind of enhance their career. So stay in the same industry and sometimes in different functional areas. So for our perspective, since you're not doing a career switch, it would be interesting to hear what are the resources within the school that you're going to leverage to make sure that you get that post-MBA job, right? You already have the industry expertise and you have some of the functional expertise. So what are the things that are missing? Because I would suspect that you're also looking at some of the soft skills, leadership skills to maybe advance more rapidly into that field and kind of turbocharge your career. So how are you going to do that? For us, it's important to hear what that's all about. So the next question is it true that majority of graduates from McCombs stay back and work in Texas after the MBA? If yes, why? So that is true. And it's something that we're actually proud of. So if you look at the US, California is the biggest economy and biggest population, second only to Texas. And we have the most Fortune 500 companies in the US headquartered in Texas. So Texas is a big economy and a big market, and we own that market. So close between 50 and 55% of our students actually stay in Texas, which is a great number for us because there is a lot of opportunity here. If you compare that to schools that are in states that have large economies, so for example, the schools in California or the schools in New York, we actually place more students outside of our home state than those other programs do. If you're looking for a job in Texas after graduation, we're the place to be. If you're looking for a job outside of Texas, we also have a lot of connections with national recruiters. The markets that we place the most people outside of Texas are California, so the Bay Area specifically, Seattle, Chicago, New York, and in the Southeast Atlanta as well. And in Texas, it's pretty evenly split between Austin, Dallas, and Houston. So the next question, hold on, I'm gonna take a second. So with the tightening H-1B visa regulations in the past few years, are the job opportunities for international students become increasingly limited in terms of job profiles, industries? And the answer to that, unfortunately, is yes. Our career management team does focus a lot on individualized attention to our international students and how to tailor their job search and coming up with a plan A, plan B, plan C. The majority of our India students have success staying in the US, so I'm more than happy after the phone call. You all can have I'll type up my email in here so you can capture it, but Karthik has it as well, and you're more than welcome to share it with the folks. I can make the connections with individuals in the call with current students from India, and they can talk to you a little bit about how we prepare students for the job search and what kind of success they're having with internships and full-time job offers. But it is true that the number of companies sponsoring students is a little more limited, primarily because of the uncertainty around immigration and what the visa situation will be. So the MBA Plus leadership program, is it very competitive to become part of it? A little more information about MBA Plus. So there is no kind of application process. It's open to everybody, so everyone can be a part of MBA Plus or take advantage of activities with the MBA Plus leadership program. So there are three main kind of areas of the leadership program. One are our micro consulting projects. So think of these as mini consulting projects that you can do at any point during your time at McCombs. Most students are doing it during their first year. They are 4 to 6 weeks in length, and there's an inventory of over 50 projects for you to pick from. And you're going to be working on those projects for those 4 to 6 weeks with a group of 4 to 6 students. And it is a very well scoped project. So this is really interesting for those that want to maybe switch careers or want to kind of a connection with a particular company or maybe experience in a particular industry. The second part of the MBA Plus leadership program is coaching. So we have over 30 coaches with various specializations that you can work with them on a one-on-one basis, from everything to public speaking to also kind of helping with the career search, etc. And then the third are webinars and seminars that you can take a part of as a student. And there's a variety of topics from blockchain to financial modeling. So it really runs the gamut at the end of the day. So you can take part on the MBA Plus leadership program activities at any point during the time in the program. So next question, not be visiting campus. How can I get in touch with students? Is it okay if I approach students on LinkedIn in addition to the student? Yeah, I think so. A couple things. I'll actually type up my email here, so you can now email me if you want to connect with students, and I can make that connection for you. But then also, you can email our general mailbox, and our students that manage the mailbox can make that connection for you. You're welcome to reach out over LinkedIn with our students as well. I don't know what the response rate will be because some people tend to be very private with their LinkedIn accounts. If you reach out, I think the most sure way is to go through us because we can make that connection for you. I understand it's from the school to expect good. However, this might yeah, I mean, that's kind of up to you to decide. So that's there for you to connect with us via social media, kind of as you see fit, and you can make a judgment call as to how that may or may not hurt your chance with other schools. I think admissions officers are very aware they're applying to multiple schools. We usually advise people to apply to 4 to 5 schools, so you would not be surprising. It would be surprising if you said that you are just applying to McCombs. So I think that you are applying to multiple schools, and I think it's perfectly fine to follow them on social media and interact with the different schools you're applying to. After all, in order to make the best decision possible, you're going to be one to learn as much as possible from the other schools. And being abroad, social media is a way for you to see the personality of the schools come alive and actually interact with them without being present here on campus. So from our perspective, it would not be a negative, but I cannot speak for other schools. Is the interview process carried out by admissions or second-year students? How can you seal the deal in that round? So the admissions, so the interview, so a couple things about our application process. So we don't start reviewing applications until the day after the deadline. So for us, it doesn't matter if you submit the application for round 1 today or for the day of the round deadline. We start to review the interviews, the applications for interview invitations the day after. We usually get through the bulk of the applications within 2 weeks of that deadline. There are some applications that we need to spend a little bit more time on and get a deeper read in. So that's why we say that interviews can come at any point during the round. But the great majority of interview invitations do come within that first kind of 4 weeks after the round deadline. The interview is conducted several different ways. So being in India is great because you are one of our biggest market, and we actually travel and send admissions officers to do interviews in India. So for you all, you can do it. If you come to campus, I know it's hard to do. You'd be interviewing with a current student. It's a second-year student that's trained on interviewing. We send admissions officers to India. So usually in Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore, we have interview days with admissions officers that you can sign up for. You can also do Skype interviews. Those are also with second-year students. It would be a very similar experience that you would whenever you're coming to campus. The fourth are alumni interviews. So those second-year students that helps us with interviews and that we train here on campus, they graduate and they become our alumni interviewers. So they tend to be kind of very fresh out of school and they have a really good perspective. So you're welcome to go through any of those 4 ways to interview with McCombs, and they're all weighted equally. So all the interviewers are well trained, and the admissions committee does not have a preference between the 4 ways. So I'll take another sip. Lots of good questions, though. Yeah, what's up?
So, do you have any questions for students here?
So I'm kind of curious, how are you guys looking to apply this year, or is it something that's a little bit more in the future? Maybe this year, show of hands. I don't know how to make show of hands. Yeah. Very cool. And so for all of you all that are going to be either applying this year or for next year, we are going to be in India quite extensively in the fall. So we're going to be not only hosting interviews, but then likely our own info sessions and coffee chats. So be on the lookout for that. I'm going to make sure that admissions officers are spending time in India, not only doing the interviews, but then having some one-on-one time with you all as well. We usually go in November, and then we also go in either late January or early February as well.
So anything to contribute on the R1 versus R2 discussion? Like, people generally believe it's better to apply in R1.
I can speak specifically to McCombs about that. So round 1, we call it our scholarship priority deadline. Basically because in round 1, I have all my seats available and all my money available to give out. And if I have qualified candidates in round 1 that are worthy of scholarships, I'm going to give them an award, right? The reality of things is that we never fill the class or spend all of our scholarship money on that round 1. So if you apply round 2, is not the end of the world. Round 2 is actually our biggest round. It's also the round where we admit the most people. We also have scholarship money available for round 2. I just don't have my whole budget. It's basically the budget that I didn't spend for with our round 1 applicants. So,
so what are your peer schools according to you, and how do students demonstrate their cultural fit or their love for McCombs?
Oh, sorry, could you repeat that really quick?
What are the peer schools for you, and how? So what I mean by peer schools is, generally when somebody applies to McCombs, where else are they applying, according to your research, and how do people demonstrate their fit with McCombs over the other schools?
So our applicants tend to overlap quite often with Duke, North Carolina, and the California schools. So Berkeley, Stanford, UCLA, and USC. I think all these schools have a similar culture and tend to be in very vibrant places, places that are growing quite a bit. For us, there are a lot of unique features for our program. It's in a unique city, in a unique state. So you will demonstrate fit by doing the research on how you're going to take advantage of our school. But then also something that's unique to you, and I think fit also has to do with how are you going to contribute to our community. So that's something that's personal to you that you all have that you can show us because of a unique, maybe a personal story or background or maybe a passion. That's how you're going to make your mark in our community. So for us, we're looking to see that too. Don't think of fit as what are the things that kind of you can take from the schools. Fit also means like how are you going to contribute and make our community better too. And that's something that's completely unique to you that nobody can replicate. I think there's one more question. Are there any specific resources for international students for career and fitting to the American business culture? And the answer to that is yes. We actually have a couple sessions during our orientation that are specific to international students that help you kind of acclimate to the American culture, and especially how the job search and networking is carried out in the US, which tends to be pretty unique. So we have a career management course, a strategic career planning class that spans your first semester. That's a really great class because our career advisors are in front of you talking about everything from how to reach out to alums via LinkedIn, how to position your resume, how to behave during a networking fair, what kind of approach should you have during an information session from a company. So it kind of runs the whole experience from when you're evaluating possible employers all the way to negotiating an offer whenever you do receive kind of that offer. How do you go about negotiating without looking pushy? What is okay to ask, what's not okay to ask? Well, how do people have most success when negotiating offers for both internships and then also for full-time job offers? So all of that is built into the strategic career planning course, and our career management team is very well versed on how to help you navigate to that process. We also employ second-year students as peer advisors, and many of those peer advisors are are international students. So you can look at who those peer advisors are and have one-on-one conversations with them about how they actually navigated the process for themselves. And you can identify, we have enough peer advisors where you can identify somebody from either a similar background as you or somebody with similar goals of what you're pursuing at the end of the day.
Okay. Rodrigo, I know you said you had 30 minutes of time to spend with us,
Yeah.
and we are nearing the end of that time.
All right.
So, I don't want to impose on you. Do you have anything you want to share with us, or
For us, I know that you all are far away, and now hopefully you have kind of a face and a name with Texas McCombs. So really do not hesitate to reach out to me directly. I can serve as a connector for you. I can connect you with members of my team that can answer application-specific questions. If you want to connect with our current students, they love to talk to you all as well. And I hope that you checked out our kind of events calendar whenever we are in India. I know you're all over India. But for those of you that can get to or live in Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore specifically, we'll be going there again. Hyderabad, we usually go once a year, and we already went back in July. So feel free. We're also doing a lot more online events this year. So online info sessions and chats that are pretty application specific. So all of our online chats are going to be right around the application deadline with questions that are specific to that application itself. And then our info sessions tend to be a little bit broader topics with a lot of Q&A too. So I hope that you can join in on that too. So thank you, Karthik, for the opportunity to speak to you and to everybody.
Thank you, Rodrigo. And I hope everyone can join me and just
give
Rodrigo a huge round of applause. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.